After Selma, fractures within the movement began to show as a more militant group of activists gained traction.
Do you think you'll be able to keep it nonviolent, Dr. King?
Yes, I think so.
Mr. Carmichael, are you as committed to the nonviolent approach as Dr. King is?
No, I'm not.
Why aren't you?
Well, I just don't see it as a way of life. I never have.
Newly anointed SNCC chairman Stokely Carmichael spoke for a younger generation when he issued a battle cry.
Don't be afraid. Don't be ashamed. We want black power. We want black power.
It was here in Mississippi this summer that Carmichael, with his cry for black power, first became a national figure, and to many, a frightening one.
It's two words that come to capture a whole host of white anxieties about race and about African American civil rights activism.
It has taken off like a lightning bolt in the media. It sounds kind of aggressive. It sounds on the verge of military revolt. I mean, everybody was full of black power. It drew all the news coverage.
In Baltimore, the concept of black power.
The issue of black power here in Grenada, Mississippi.
Here in Watts, black power.
Black power.
Black power. Black power. So the press was fixated on the notion of violence.
Are you talking in violent analogies because you want to see a Negro violent uprising?
When Stokely says black power, he's not just whistling Dixie. 3 white male journalists as the panel, and they're saying to him, well, don't you really mean it's about violence? And he's saying, very calmly, he says,
When I talk about black power, I talk about black people in the counties where they outnumber them to get together, to organize themselves politically, and to take over those counties from the white racists who now run it.
We just want what everybody else has. And he's looking at 3 people who represent, they know what we're talking about. They had to make themselves not understand him.
We are not going to let these white people come into our neighborhood and kill us.
They wanted to see us as only passive. It's like, oh, the bad movement is taking over. 65, that Selma March, that was wonderful. You know, people locking arms and singing We Shall Overcome and stuff.
We want to talk about this thing called violence that everybody is so afraid about.
The media tends to be stuck in the narrative that they understand.
As black activists became less conciliatory to white America, the mainstream media began to cool on civil rights.
So far, a definitive statement on what black power has yet to be forthcoming, except that it is damaging.
For most of the history of the civil rights movement, from the mid-1950s to the mid-1960s, it was easy for the white press to pick which side they were on. They were clearly on the side of the civil rights demonstrators. With the advent of black power, it becomes a little bit more difficult for the press to cast it in terms of good versus evil. The message of black power, kind of like the message of Black Lives Matter 50 years later, this is a message that is geared to blacks themselves.
This movement is not brand new. This is the latest chapter in a liberatory struggle in America for black people and for people of color.
And what's been the response so far?
The real truth of the matter is that children are the ones who are suffering from this occupation the most.
My role is to take the demands from the street and make them relevant in the policy space.
Brittany Packnett, a leading Black Lives Matter activist, was one of several civil rights leaders past and present invited to the White House in 2016.
People like Brittany, who served on our police task force in the wake of Ferguson and has led many of the protests.
The beginning of our work in Ferguson was simply to help people understand that there really is a problem. That racism is not dead, no matter who was in the White House at the time. Some of our tactics were still rooted in the traditions of the civil rights movement. But given that this is the next chapter, things evolve. We weren't going to sing I Shall Not Be Moved and We Shall Overcome. We're going to play Lil Boosie. We are not carrying protest signs. We're wearing protest tees. To wear your Sunday best, that was a strategic move in the civil rights movement. But I shouldn't have to dress my best for you to see me as a human being.
When Black Lives Matter activists objected to the coverage of their movement by mainstream media.
Looks like we got a stash here of some New Amsterdam
Citron vodka.
They took control of their story.
We were not pleased with the media because somebody